right, just to keep things on time here, we'll get started. So welcome everyone to the Solutions Program Addictions Focus Information Session today. My name is Nikki Desjardins. I'm the Engagement Specialist here with SHRF, and we also have Kara Spence, who is our Acting Director of Programs and Partnerships. We're just here today to give you some information, but also really to just allow you the opportunity to ask any questions. And yeah, so just get started. So Kara, I'll get you to flip the slide. Perfect. So today our agenda is just to talk a little bit about SHRF. Many of you are probably familiar with us, but we may have some people that are new to SHRF with us on the call today. So we'll just go over a little bit of the high level of who we are, what we do. And then I'll be passing it over to Kara to give a program overview for the Solutions Program and the specific calls that are involved with the funding opportunities this year. She'll go into the details about the grant funding, eligibility, and then really dig into the process for applying and reviewing. And then we'll end with some important dates and tips, and then, yeah, really open it up for that time for Q&A. All right, so we are SHRF, Saskatchewan Health Research Foundation, and we are the provincial agency that funds, supports, and promotes the impact of health research that matters to Saskatchewan. So what that really means, at the core of what we do is we fund health research here in the province. So this is a prime example of one of those ways we do that is with our solutions programs. But we have other programs that also build capacity and align with the needs of our different stakeholders here in the province. We support the research community, so that also is varies between what our activity is. So we support the researchers throughout the funding process and the application process, but we also hold things like these events and other events to provide that type of support and resource to the research community. And we promote the impact, which basically means we share the stories of all the work that we do within the research community. Next slide there. So we believe that health research is vital to the improved health of Saskatchewan citizens through a high-performing health ecosystem and a robust culture of research and innovation. That's basically our big vision. We want to, travel along to that path where we're a healthier province. And we know that there are a lot of partners and other stakeholders who are also working towards those big goals with us. We believe SHRF is unique in that we are vital in enabling the best health research that supports Saskatchewan solutions to Saskatchewan health challenges. And we do that by upholding a rigorous peer review process. When we are funding our health research, we measure and share the impact of our programs and our funded research. We also collaborate with partners. Partners really do help us maximize the work that we're doing. And we have some partners on this call today, so we'll get into a little bit of that, but we partner with lots of different people to do lots of different things in the ecosystem. So, and really it's focused on Saskatchewan. So the solutions program really was built out of the desire for us to support Saskatchewan people in finding those solutions to our unique health challenges that we face in the province, but also recognizing that we play a role in supporting that. We are also playing a role to support solutions at a national and even international level. So, but what we do is really focus on that Saskatchewan support. So our three strategic goals, I kind of touched on them a little bit, but just to really outline what we try to do as an organization. We strengthen research capacity and competitiveness. We increase investment in research and innovation, and we align research with stakeholders' needs. As mentioned, that's done through all of our different activities, from funding to supporting to promoting the research that we do. And this is all done in partnership and in support of Saskatchewan research. At the base of everything that we do is also our core values, which are listed on the screen there. So accountability, adaptability, collaboration, excellence, and integrity. That really is the core of where we start with everything we do. So we hold ourselves to those core values, and we do that in everything we do, and we do that in our relationships that we build with people as well. So in participating in everything that we do, with if it's board meetings, if it's building those stakeholder relationships, we hold others accountable to those core values, because that's truly something that we think makes the base of a strong relationship in doing the work that we do. So that's a bit of an overview just on who we are, what we do, why we do what we do. But really today it's about focusing on the solutions program. So I'd like to hand it over to Kara. And please, just some logistics. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to throw them in the chat box or the Q&A box. If it seems relevant to stop Kara in the middle of it and make sure that she can answer that question right away, we'll do that. But we will make sure at the very end to start with those questions in the Q&A. So don't lose your questions, throw them in the Q&A box, and we promise we'll get to them as soon as we're done giving a bit of an overview. Thanks very much. Kara, I'll hand it over to you.
Great, thanks, Nikki. As Nikki mentioned, I'm Kara Spence, and I'm the Acting Director for Programs and Partnerships here at SHRF for 2021 while Karen Tisley's on leave. And I also have the great honor and privilege to talk to you about the Solutions Program. As Nikki also mentioned, if you have questions, just throw them in the chat. I can't see the chat with my full screen, but Nikki's monitoring that chat. So just if something comes to you, pop it in there, and we'll circle back and get to your questions. So the Solutions Program was softly launched last year with the focus area of virtual care. And this year we have a new focus area, which is addictions. But I wanted to just start the talk today, or the presentation, on the whole program pathway, so you get an idea. And some of you have already seen this from previous info sessions, but just to give you an idea of the whole program as a entirety. It's a progressive funding model. So we started with the START award, and it's currently open, and those are planning and engagement monies to get your teams together, your patient or people engaging activities. And the real point of that is to ensure that your projects are co-created and co-designed for maximum impact and relevancy. But today we're launching, or we launched last week, and I just want to talk to you about the solutions call, the full proposal call. So the focus area was launched, as I mentioned, it's addictions, and there's two funding opportunities. There's the innovation funding and impact funding. Innovation is 1-year term with an opportunity for scale up, and impact is a 2-year term. At the end of the project funding, there is an opportunity for teams that are showing much promise and progress, and even for sustainability of their work, to compete in a final opportunity where there'll be some funding support for one successful team, not only funding but resources and sort of wraparound supports to take this opportunity or that team approach to the next level and beyond the pathway into sustainable programming. So the purpose of the Solutions Program is threefold we have here. So to mobilize the research community and partners. So that's really trying to link the academic and the non-academic and the patient population communities together, recognizing that we all kind of have our roles and responsibilities in addressing solutions or the target area, or the addictions or the target area, but that we really can't do it alone, and that we need to work together outside of our silos and collaborate and coordinate our efforts. So to bring us together, to connect us together, and then to learn to work more effectively and efficiently together. Additionally, to focus and coordinate the skills, resources, perspectives, same sort of idea that it's not just SHRF as a funder or a resourcer. We have partners that are invested in addictions and in solutions, program in general that have come forward and are working with us to move these efforts forward, but as well to coordinate the skills and the perspectives of the multiple peoples and sectors that are involved in this area, and to address timely SAS challenges. So SHRF is really good at responding to the provincial environment with virtual care to respond to the situation that we were experiencing in the pandemic and the lockdowns, and then for this year to address the challenges that we're seeing with increased addiction rates. So as mentioned, there's two granting opportunities available now. There's the Innovation Grant and the Impact Grant. So the Innovation Grant is 1 year, $50,000. And the main purpose or intention of the Innovation Grant is sort of like to try something, proof of concept, try a new idea or approach or an innovation of some sort to do something different, to try something different. So the short term, they're 1 year, 50,000, but these innovation grants also have an opportunity for scale up. So the projects or the teams that are showing promise and their innovation is starting to take hold and it's showing some impact, they have the opportunity to apply after year 1 for scale up funds to take them to year 2 and up to the same sort of place on that pathway as the impact grant recipients. The impact grants are 2 years and $150,000. The idea with the impact grants is sort of teams or approaches or initiatives that are already have some pilot data or have some success, and they're wanting to scale up or to show some greater impact or translating it in another setting to really advance that project or really advance that approach to addictions. So that's a solutions program in general. So with each release, there's a new focus area. And as mentioned, it was virtual care last year, and this year is addictions. So the focus area for Solutions 2021 is addictions. And addictions understood as compulsive behavior and or substance use despite negative consequences. So we're looking at not just substance use, but also some of that more compulsive behaviors that we're also seeing. The point with addictions is that it's the continued behavior, continued use that develops the dependency, and it's the dependency that creates physiological changes where symptoms of withdrawal occur when that pattern or that use is disrupted. And addictions, as we understand, is a result of a combination of complex health, social, and systemic factors. So we brought this as a focus area for this year's funding because we recognize that addictions has started to reach far and wide into our personal and social lives. And I even suggest that I think each and every one of us might be impacted or affected by addictions in some way. Now, projects can address any points along the addictions trajectory, from prevention and education and screening to management of addictions, harm reduction strategies, treatment, and into recovery. So we've got 2 funding partners for this addictions call. We've got the Lung Association and Saskatchewan Centre for Patient-Oriented Research. Before we go into our funding partner on addictions, these 2 funding partners, I just want to pause here to let you know that the Solutions Program is sort of an umbrella program for various funding opportunities. The one I'm speaking to you today is about addictions. But I want to let you know that there's other solutions funding opportunities that will come forward from other partners that have priorities outside of addictions. So in the next few weeks, you can watch our social channels and our website and other ways that we disseminate through newsletters and what have you of other opportunities for the Solutions Program that are partnered opportunities that are outside the addiction scope. So just keep checking in. There's other really exciting funding opportunities that are coming your way. So back to addictions. Our first partner is the Lung Association. So the Lung Association has earmarked some funds to support an application in one of their 3 areas, priority areas: Indigenous people's health, the use and impact of inhaling substances, so that's tobacco, cannabis, vaping, and also patient and caregiving education. So with this partner priority, you're able to identify that your project or your proposal fits into one of these 3 mandated areas of the Lung Association. And if that's so, then it'll move on to that partnered priority pool. The other partner we have in this competition is SHRF, Saskatchewan Centre for Patient Oriented Research. So the projects that identify this priority area work to advance patient-oriented research, or POR research. So specifically what that means is that the focus of the project is identified as by the patient, and are prioritized by patients, and the objective is to improve patient outcomes and engage patients as partners throughout the research process. So in order to meet eligibility for this partner, the POR, or the patient-oriented research criteria, must be established. And in our application package, there's more information here for you to refer to, but you must meet the criteria within the PORLET. And this is reviewed by a patient review committee. You must include a minimum of 2 patient partners to meet this partner eligibility. And that would include signed testimonials that would be uploaded with the full application. Patient reviewers, as I mentioned, will evaluate the projects that are wanting to fit within this partner priority, and they'll deem whether they and evaluate how well that they fit that eligibility. And those that are successful in this funding, the team members must attend 2 of the SHRF SPOR training sessions that are provided by SHRF. Those that are successful, the projects that are successful with this priority announcement, will be provided with a set of supports provided by SHRF. And one example of the support, there's several, but one that I wanted to draw your attention to is data support analysis. So access to data, and then also help and support on data analysis. However, this requirement, you must have a data consultation done with SHRF prior to the application deadline. And this is so that SHRF is aware of the projects that would be accessing this data support, and to ensure that that data is available. Please, the contact of all the further information and the contact information is in the application guidelines. But once you have had that data consultation, then please connect with Brittany Walsh to inform her that that consultation has been conducted. And we also have Brittany on the line here in this info session if you have any further specific questions on this partner. So the amount of funding available for this competition is $1 million, and additional funds may become available. We still have partners that are interested in this call, so watch that number may continue to increase and be updated. So the $1 million would cover 8 innovation grants and 4 impact grants. In addition, the Lung Association has committed to fund either an innovation or impact project, depending on the fit of the project with their mandate. And SHRF has allocated funding for 1 innovation and 1 impact project. Now, just a note, if you identify one of these partners at your eligibility stage, or for full application, and you're eligible to move on to full application, and you're not successful in being awarded one of these partnered funds, then you do go back to the general pool. So even if you're not funded by one of our partners, you still are eligible to be funded in the general pool. For eligibility, only the institutions with MOUs with SHRF are eligible to apply to hold the SHRF funds for the full application. And here are our 6 affiliated institutions. So the eligibility of the project and the project team. So you must address the addictions focus. And if you're applying for a partner priority, then you also need to meet the mandate or the criteria for the partners. So at the eligibility stage, there might be further slides on this, but I'll go through this with you now. At the eligibility stage, you select the funding opportunity that you're interested in. So that would be either the impact or innovation stream or award, and whether you are applying to one of the specific partner calls or partner priority pools. At eligibility, all minimum team requirements must be met, and we'll define those as we go further into this presentation, but the minimum team requirement must be met at eligibility. And an important criteria to keep in mind is principal applicants are permitted only 1 application to the solutions program per year. So regardless of the focus area or priority announcement, principal applicants are only permitted 1 application per year. So if you were funded last year in virtual care, you are eligible again for this funding call. That said, as a principal applicant, you can hold, are eligible to hold up to or maximum of 1, but you can still hold the position as co-applicant on other applications. So the eligibility must be submitted by eligibility cutoff date, which is September 15th. So submit if you're unsure. There's a bit of a back and forth that we do to ensure that you meet the eligibility. So if there's something that is unmet, we'll communicate that to you, and there's an opportunity to meet that eligibility criteria. But the cutoff date is September 15th. So either if you're unsure, connect with us or submit early, and we can start that process with you to ensure that you meet the eligibility by the cutoff of September 15th. Now, you must meet the eligibility, much like registration, in order to proceed to full application. So the research project team, there's 3 primary roles. There's the applicants or investigators. That includes your PIs, co-PIs, or co-Is, co-investigators. And investigators could be researchers, knowledge users, or persons with lived or living experiences. Now, although persons with lived or living experiences are not required for this call, I think originally we had made this a requirement, and there was some discussion why that wouldn't be appropriate for some calls, or some proposals. So although it's not mandatory, if you don't include a person with lived or living experience on your project team, then a justification would be required. We recognize that people with lived and living experiences are the true experts when it comes to living with addictions and recovery. Personnel is another role that will be filled, and these are trainees, students, research staff, and they're paid directly from the grant. And supporters. So supporters are those that support the project, support the initiative. They're not paid by the grant directly, and but they might and would support more the implementation and the appropriateness of the proposal. Project team requirements. So at minimum, we're looking for 2 Saskatchewan-based researchers as applicants, 1 Saskatchewan-based knowledge user, and any other additional team requirements. For instance, the skipper call requires 2 patient partners. And as I mentioned, people with lived and living experiences are not required but recommended. And the purpose of having these mix of the team is to ensure that they're collaborative and they're cross-sectional, and sort of drawing on that diverse skill set and perspectives of our diverse Saskatchewan environment. So when you're putting together your project team, consider the expertise that you need on your team to meet your objectives. That's very clear in peer review if you propose something but you don't have the expertise to adequately fulfill that objective. So ensure that you have all the expertise that you need on your team, that there is a building of capacity or mentorship for trainees. This is very important that your trainees are early career researchers are included in these research teams, and that there's a mentorship there available for your trainees and early career researchers looking for successions and capacity building. Again, people with lived and living experiences and knowledge users are important to ensure the research is relevant and usable and applicable. Supporters strengthen your application, again, for feasibility and the potential for impact. And once the team requirements have been met, the Saskatchewan-based team requirements have been met, then we do encourage you to look to national and even international participation and partners. It's viewed as an asset to strengthen the scale and spread of your work. So allowable expenses, there's a list in the guide as far as what's allowable or ineligible expenses. But the point of this slide is just to make sure that your budgets are appropriate and justified to meet your project objectives. In the application, there's two tables. There's a table that is the SHRF request or the ask from SHRF, and then there's a table of other contributions. So that's the cash and in-kind contributions you have from your partners and collaborators. Cash and in-kind contributions are not required, but of course, an asset to your project. And there's three categories, budget categories on the tables. There's personnel, so that's trainees and staff. Those are paid by the grant. Research costs, these are direct research costs, so no equipment is eligible and no indirect costs of research are eligible. And knowledge and sharing dissemination costs, so that's academic and non-academic activities. If you have industry supports, or industry collaborator, or an organization that supplies services or goods or services, then they can come on as a supporter in the application. But if they're to receive funds from the grant, they need to contribute 50% or more for the cost of that goods and service as a matching or in kind. So any industry or any service provider that you have as part of your grant, 50% of that budgetary amount would need to come from them as cash or in kind contribution. Nonprofit organizations or communities can come on as co-applicants or in a supporter contributor role. And important note is the knowledge users, you can budget for time release in order for the knowledge users to contribute to the time commitment of the projects. That is permitted. The activities that this knowledge user or contributor needs to directly relate to fulfilling the objectives of the proposed research, and as well an attached signed letter of support from their employer would need to be included. Okay, so application process, there's two deadlines here I want you to note in red pen. The first one is the eligibility check, and that's deadline we've touched on at September 15th. So the eligibility check is to, basically it's like a registration. You're identifying that you're interested to apply and declaring which competition that you are impact or innovation that you're looking to apply to, or the partner call. It gives us the opportunity to read your summaries to make sure that they do fit the purpose and objectives of the call or the purpose and objectives of the partner priority. We ensure that at this stage that the PI or the principal applicant is eligible to hold the funds and that all the team requirements are met at eligibility stage. Also, again, back to the partner opportunities, we take that information you provided and bring it back to the partners to ensure that they do support that project as part of their mandate. And also the information that we receive at this stage helps us for establishing the peer review committees for the full review. This is done in the RMS. This eligibility process is done in the RMS, and then that process confirms who will be leading the project, who SHRF will be communicating to, and the organization who will hold the funds. So once the eligibility check has been submitted, the information is reviewed by the program manager, either Chelsea or probably both, Chelsea and myself, as well as Patrick. And so we look at the summary of the proposed research, make sure it meets the objectives. There's a question about how it fits with the program or how it fits with the partner priority. And there's 350 words there. So watch that and refer to your guide to the application package as to what's to be included in those 350 words. That's where you make the justification for the fit with the project or with the program, the fit with your partner priority, and any justifications you might need to make as far as why perhaps there isn't someone with lived or living experience on your research team. This stage also requires your team members, and this might not be the comprehensive entire team, but the required team members to complete their profiles and accept the invitation to the application. So give yourself time, give your team time to go through this eligibility process, because there is a bit of a back and forth between you, the team, and the RMS system to ensure everyone's in the system and all the invitations have been accepted. As well, we ask for suggested and excluded peer reviewers for your application. So the RMS is open. It's been open, it opened on July 6th. It closes September 15th, and you can start filling in that eligibility information at any time. So don't wait, contact us anytime if you need to discuss eligibility. And you can submit anytime. Like I say, we can go back and forth. Once you submit, that's just an indicator for us to review it and to provide feedback or approve that eligibility. And then after September 15th, we move on to the full application process. The full application is due November 30th. You must meet eligibility in order to move on to the full application. There's a few sections. Now this is RMS, done in the RMS. So if you've applied last year or previously, many of these fields you've already seen, they're standardized. Now it requires a research proposal. If it's an innovation grant, that's 6 pages. If it's an impact grant, that's 8 pages maximum, excluding references. There's a question on sex and gender. There's a timeline requested, that's an upload of 1 page. References is an upload. Budget and justification, so there's a budget table as I described earlier, and as well there's an upload for a justification of your budget that's required. Contribution forms, so everyone on the research team, including your supporters and your people with lived experiences or any other personnel, completes a contribution form in the RMS. In that, their experience and expertise is highlighted. That's either through their CV or through a signed testimonial that is uploaded into the system, and also declares the person's role on that project. There's an impact description, and we'll talk about, I think, the next slide on what those criteria are. And then there's the signature page that needs to be uploaded, signed by your research office. So the impact description, there's 4 questions around impact, and they're based on the CAS framework. We have some information, we'll post more information on our website to help you understand what is or how the CAS has conceptualized impact. But in general, there's 4 areas, and then you're required to respond to each of these 4 areas: how your project builds capacity, advances knowledge, informs decision-making, and has health, social, and economic impact. So these are required fields, and you'll be required to add a response to each of those 4 areas. And then once submitted, after November 30th, we we begin the peer review process. So how the peer review process works is we get our peer review committee together based on either your recommendations from your eligibility stage or peers that have been, academics have been identified that can review the applications that we've received. The peer reviewers follow the SHRF guidelines and program criteria, and you must score at least a 3.5 out of 5 on all the 3 criteria in order to be considered for funding. Anything below 3.5 is not fundable. The peer review consists of a multidisciplinary committee from across Canada, so outside of the province. There's 2 lead reviewers on the committee for each application. So there's 2 that are primary reviewers, and then the others contribute to that conversation. And then we also solicit external reviews for as needed if there's some particular expertise that's required to proficiently review the applications. And these peer reviews are done virtually. That was a process that was initiated in COVID and seems to be working really well. So that process will continue. Applications are ranked based on scores, and the allocation begins from top down by ranking until the funding envelope has been completely used. So the 3 review criteria are relevance and need at 25%. The quality of the proposal is 50% of the ranking, and potential for impact is additional 25%. So important dates to keep in mind and to mark in your red pen. So the competition has been launched. We're at the information webinar on July 15th, that's today. The eligibility in the RMS is open, so at any time you can begin that eligibility process. The cutoff is September 15th. We no longer accept eligibility submissions after that time. There's a little bit of time for revisions after the eligibility cutoff to give you an opportunity to address any deficiencies you might have in eligibility. And that the firm deadline on that is September 22nd. The application deadline for full applications is day end November 30th. Funding decisions, and then there's the peer review in January, February. Funding decisions can be expected February 23rd, and funding start date is March 1st. Of course, please refer to your internal deadlines of your institutions to ensure that you get your signatures and approvals in time to meet these deadlines. So tips for writing your application. Read, and then reread the application package. That's what the reviewers use to review your proposal. So what you want to do is grab the reviewer's interest, that you really want to make the case why this is important work, why you need this funding, why basically you want to leave the reviewer with the feeling like we must fund this work. Detail how you're going to, what you're going to do and how you're going to do what you want to do. And don't ignore or overlook limitations. It's best to address them, to identify them, and then offer some risk mitigation. Make it easy to read, make it a pleasure to read. That will help in your rankings. And definitely check your math and your budgets and justification. Often they don't align, and that causes more questions than answers. And then once you start on the path of questioning and nitpicking, sometimes you don't fare well. So just make it easy and complete and congruent, and there'll be less nitpicking. Field test your project ideas or include pilot data. So show that you know what you're doing, know the environment that you're working in, the application implementation of your project, any other pilot data that you have strengthens your application. And then go back and review the application package. Ensure that you've met the objectives of the call and have met those 3 criteria as fully and as best as you can. So the next steps from here, We'll send out a copy of this presentation to all of you who have been registered, and we'll also post it on the website so you can come back and refer to it. And any questions that we receive from you after I'm done chatting here on the Q&A, or if you have more questions after this session, just send them to us, and we'll update that information based on that feedback. Just reach out to, we have some contact information on our next slide, but reach out to us if you have any questions on the FIP, the program, or if you want to sort of discuss your project idea, or if you don't have a community partner, or if you don't have an academic partner, or if you're looking for connections in any way, just reach out. We certainly have lists of people and collaborators that we'd be happy to connect you with. And please observe the deadlines, there's no extensions. So here's some contact information. Also, what's not on the screen is info, funding info at SHRF.ca. So funding info at SHRF.ca, and that email, you'll get the three of us. So you will definitely get a response if you don't know who to reach out to, whether it be myself, Chelsea, who's the program manager, and she's sort of the RMS guru. She knows about the submission process very well, and Tanya's the back end, so she basically floats the boat, she runs the show. So really any three of us are happy to help you or to connect you to who can best support you. I think that's the last slide. Yeah, I'll stop sharing my screen and we can go to questions.
Great, Kara. Yeah, thank you guys. We have a few questions that I've answered sort of throughout the presentation, but we have a couple here that I wanted to make sure that you could address, Kara. So, and we'll also start out as well. I just wanted to mention, let's see, oh, I seem to have lost my chat box. There we go. I also just wanted to, Brittany from Skipper just wanted to confirm for everyone that Skipper focus area requires a minimum of 2 patient partners who have personal lived experience with the health issue. So these individuals could be patients, informal caregivers, family members, or friends. So that's just to keep that in mind for what that means for people with lived experience in that case. Okay, so our first question is, can one application be submitted to both areas of partner priority?
So no, you would have to pick the partner priority that best fits your application, and keeping in mind your application fits within the partner priority as well as the general pool. So you'd need to pick one of the 2 partners, and if it doesn't meet that eligibility, it'll just slide back to the open pool.
Next, can trainees listed as co-applicants be paid out of grant funds?
No. So if you're paid from the grant, then you are considered a trainee or a staff. So that's under personnel. So if you're a co-applicant or principal applicant, you can't be paid from the grant. So only those that are personnel, declared as personnel. So trainees and doctoral students or the sort of advanced level of study students have to make a choice whether they want their prestige of being on the grant, or if they would prefer, or it's better serve their stage of development to be paid as a staff on the grant.
Next question, is there a chance to improve on the START application if it is not funded in the first instance, or SHRF will work with the applicant to address any shortcomings? So that's more related to the START, but
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question. The START awards are still open, and they'll be open until the end of August. So we do encourage you to apply early because those funds are limited. And so if you, kind of similar to the eligibility, if you submit to START and there's some deficiencies or some limitations, we would just work with you to strengthen the application. And unless it's it's just not a fit and it's not fundable, then we'd send it back for, then you could redraft or re-envision. But if it just has some deficiencies or not quite fundable, then we would just work with you to strengthen that application so we can fund you.
Perfect. Yeah, and just to reiterate too, that deadline has been extended for START. So it was today, at 4:30, but we've actually extended that until the end of August. So August 31st at 4:30 that day. That is the new deadline for start. So still lots of opportunity to apply there. All right.
Maybe I'll just say something while questions might still be coming in. So START, as Nikki mentioned, has been extended. So part of fielding some of the questions for the START is I don't have an academic partner, I don't have a community partner, and it's required to have the co-leadership on those applications. So if you're in one of those situations where you're a community partner that's interested in accessing some of these funds to move some of this addictions work forward, just reach out. We can match you with a researcher or give you a list of some researchers that might work in your area that might be a good fit for you. Or the other way, if you're a researcher who is looking for access or looking for a community-based partner, again, we've got SHRF's got lots of friends in the field. So if there's a community partner that you're needing, again, we can offer some suggestions for you.
Okay. We have another question here just in the chat box there, Kara. I don't know if you want to pull it up so you can reference it also. Where can we get more information about current challenges if there is any? I mean, which part is on priority to address current challenges or provide new ideas in those domains?
Okay, I'm not entirely clear on the question, but I'll do my best. So the current challenges, more information on the current challenges. Well, the current challenge that we've identified is addictions. Now that's pretty far reaching, that could be from gambling to opiates, so, well, or really there's no like anything in between. So this sphere of addictions is kind of dependent on the sphere of your work or the reach of your connections into the community. But which part is on priority to address the current challenges of what part is new? Okay, so if I'm understanding the second question, so the innovation award would be, or innovation grant would be good for kind of new ideas, new approaches. Just try something out, see if it takes hold, and if it does, then you can apply for those scale up awards and keep going with it. If it doesn't work, well, that's the lesson learned as well. And it's even publishable, right? So that sort of try something new, that's innovation. The current challenges or growing something that's existing or amplifying something that's existing or filling an identified gap that you already know is a gap, that would fit in the impact where you have a team already together or a project already happening or an initiative or an identified gap, as I said, then you're kind of ready for impact. You're kind of ready for a 2-year term to see how you can fill that gap or how you can scale up. Did that help, Ali? Awesome. Okay. And of course, if anything occurs to you after, just reach out. We're happy to have a phone call or conversation.
Yeah. I'll wrap up now for anyone that needs to leave the call, but thank you all for joining us. As Kara said, please reach out if there's more, but we'll be hanging online here for a little while to answer some more questions. So we'll give you a chance to put them in there. So Kara, we have a couple more coming up now. What all does addictions in combination with complex health include? Will it include getting patients off morphine as they get free of pain?
Yeah, I could see a role for that. Absolutely. So that might be, and again, I don't know what stage your team or your project might be at, but that's a need. There's a need there to how to move people off morphine, or opiates, and still have some pain management. So there might be an initiative you want to try, an alternative therapy you want to try. All of that is really important work and researchable. So yes, I guess would be the long and short of that.
Perfect. So can a solution grant with Skipper focus be in the same direction of the establishment grant? I mean, finding the real solution after working on the establishment grant objectives.
Yeah. If you're building on previous work, that's a strength for you. If you're building within a program of research, that's a strength for you. If it's building on some work that's congruent or parallel. Yes, the only sort of caution or thing that and you'll have the opportunity to disclose this in your application, is just budget overlap. So having projects that leverage and inform each other is a strength. You just need to identify what project or what funding is supporting what, and just declare or acknowledge or recognize where that's overlapped. That's not held against you. That's a strength that you have multiple funding or projects that all working together.
And just identifying the team that's involved. The solutions program is a bit more team intensive, so just making sure that's part of it. So that's great. Yeah.
Good. And again, I'll just make note for anyone that's still online. So the solutions program is basically using teams, groups, multi-sectors to address solutions to problems, solutions to challenges. SHRF's priority or SHRF solution focus for this year is addictions, but there'll be other partners are interested in finding solutions to their problems. So just keep your eye out for other partnered solution calls, opportunities to address solutions to partnered problems or priorities. Well, good. That's not very, must have been thorough enough, not too many questions.
Or lots of information to digest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I have to sit with that, hey? SHRF applications.
How many SHRF applications per competition can a PI apply? For instance, can a PA apply for impact as well as the next round?
Can a principal applicant apply for impact as well as next round? I'm not entirely clear on the question, but I'll do my best. Basically, you can apply, a principal investigator can apply only to one solutions call as a PI. So you can be on other teams, but as the lead, only one. If you have an impact that's scaling up, you would continue, or you could continue to be the PI for that scale up. So that wouldn't be a separate call, that'd be a continuation. But say there's a call outside the solutions program offered by SHRF, say establishment, or you know, we've got a few partner calls outside of solutions, you could apply to that as well. So this, understand the solutions as an umbrella, and you can hold one per year under the solutions umbrella as PI. Yeah. Well, great. That might have done it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll thank everyone for coming out on this Thursday afternoon, and I hope you stay cool over the weekend. And again, I'll just offer and encourage you to reach out, call, email, and we can discuss your application or your team. Thanks, everyone.
Everyone.
Thanks, Rhonda.